Hey guys, I'm Andrew McCormick. Welcome to Web3 TV. In today's video, I'm with Rami James from Ultra.io, and we're going to find out what blockchain gaming is and how it's different to typical Web2 gaming. But before we do, make sure you register to watch every episode of Web3 TV here, where we share inspiring stories of all things Web3, making a difference to the world. All sorted? Okay, let's go. Rami, welcome to Web3 TV.
Happy to be here.
Great to have you, mate. Now, obviously, one of the biggest questions we get in relation to the gaming space is, what is this new blockchain gaming? Can you explain it to us?
Sure. So when people talk about blockchain gaming, I think that it's really important that we think about it as just the extension of what gaming was. So I think the last, say, 15, 20 years, gaming has kind of walked down this path where it's very much about extracting value from players. You know, you have DLCs, you have a lot of add-ons, you have skins, you have, microtransactions, you have all of this stuff that people have been playing with that is about pulling value from them. It's about paying for content in a way that brings value to the business, but doesn't bring value to the player afterwards. And for people that are in the decentralized space, there's always the interest about promoting methods of doing business, which bring value both to the business, but also bring value to the players themselves. So when we talk about Web3 gaming, and I'm going to quote unquote Web3 gaming, because it's actually like a bunch of different technologies, a bunch of different mindsets. And the intent here is to give more power to players, to gamers, while providing new avenues for revenue for businesses, new ways for businesses to interact with their communities, and those types of concepts. So when I think about Web3 gaming, that's really what I'm talking about.
Sounds like more win-win than a sort of a one-way street where the gamer in Web2 gets the enjoyment. That's kind of the payment for them. Right. But in return, if they want to up level or up skin, etc., they've got to pay for the privilege, yeah?
That's exactly it. So when we're talking about win-win, and in business, that's always what you're looking for. We're looking for kind of like methodologies or concepts which allow for kind of like a broader appeal. And I know that there's been a lot of pushback within the gaming community against, blockchain or NFT technology being integrated into the different types of play that they've traditionally enjoyed. And I think that it's really important that when we talk about Web3 technology or blockchain gaming or NFTs in the context of gaming, that really that's the way that we speak about it.
Yeah, so ultimately the vision is for win-win. So it's bringing the players and getting some more reward from it.
There's a bunch of different ways to look at bringing value to players. And I think that especially over the last few years, when we've been talking about integrating blockchain or NFT technologies into gaming, it's been about value extraction. And I think that when you have people talking about play to earn, especially, like the games where you have to buy really expensive NFTs to be able to play the game, to get access to the game, then that's the kind of stuff that traditional gamers, mainstream gamers are going to push back against, and I think very legitimately. But there's many other avenues for us to develop games, develop new concepts, new economies that frankly are not about value extraction. And when we talk about building a business is also about building loyalty. It's about building brand retention, player retention, things like that. And blockchain and NFT technology can also help with those kinds of things.
So let's back the truck up for the absolute beginner who's new to blockchain gaming. First of all, what is your take on what is Web3?
Web3 is a lot of different things. So it's a conglomeration of different technologies based on generally decentralized open networks. And by that, I mean, so when you talk about traditional banking, and I'll start with like basic banking, basic finance, you have networks that are integrated into your local bank, right? That cross international boundaries that everybody uses to pass value back and forth, right? So the big one is ACH. You have Visa, you have MasterCard. They all have like real networks with computers, lots of people connect to them, lots of different technologies. And when you use your Visa card or something like that, you're actually connecting to a network. Like that's really what we're doing. But those networks are entirely closed. What happens on them, it's opaque to everybody. You don't actually get to go and see the transactions. You don't get to see, how things move from one place to another. And the core concepts behind decentralization is about opening all of that stuff. It's about transparency. It's about accessibility. And when we talk about Web3 technologies, that's what we're actually building. We're building a series of networks. Bitcoin is a network. Ethereum is a network. EOS is a network, Ultra is a network. These are all separate networks that have different consensus mechanisms, different technologies, and we connect to them and we can do stuff on them. We have accounts that we hold or addresses that we hold. We can control the transfers, we can control swaps, we can, access smart contracts, all of that stuff that we do on them, it's happening on a network. Now, when we talk about Web3, what that actually is what we do on those networks, right? So there's some who prefer to call it, things like the semantic web, where basically it's allowing you to do things that you would traditionally not be able to do on a closed network. So if you have, what's a good example here? If you have Amazon, for example, they have a lot of functionality which is closed. You can't do that stuff. You can't see what they're doing. And the point of a Web3 network is that you can have access to different functionality that runs on a network, and you can see what other people are doing. That's what it really boils down to.
Very cool. So transparency is a major part, obviously, in relation to blockchain gaming. Then my next question is, what is blockchain or the blockchain?
What is a blockchain?
Yeah. So just for the newbie gamer out there, we're talking about blockchain gaming, but yeah, what is the blockchain or what is a blockchain?
At its core, it's a network of nodes, like a bunch of different computers that talk to each other, that run a software in sync, right? They all run the same software, usually the same version, preferably the same version. And they have a consensus mechanism. And a consensus mechanism is basically if I have one Excel sheet and you have one Excel sheet, then how do we make sure that the data that's in the Excel sheet is the same? And there's a bunch of different technologies for how people agree on what's the latest version of the data that's in those shared Excel sheets. But I think that that's like outside of the scope of like what we're actually talking about here. And when you talk about blockchain gaming, basically you have a game that runs on one of those networks. And just like if you have like World of Warcraft, they have their servers, which have their databases, which have the data inside those databases. And they have methodologies for synchronizing that data across, different servers or different nodes, different continents. And blockchain gaming is just about making sure that the functionality and the data which is on those networks is public. Again, it's transparent and it's accessible to everybody.
And is it specific to the individual? So do they own their own data as opposed to like Web2 is all about the companies own the data?
So that's an interesting question. I think like the traditional decentralized answer is yes, of course, but when you talk about owning data, for example, most people, when they think about an NFT, they think they have that NFT in their wallet. But what they actually have is a way to access an NFT, which is simply a row in a table, which exists within an NFT contract, a smart contract. So whether they own it is difficult to say because they are not the ones that own the root smart contract, right?
So the gaming developer owns the root smart contract?
Well, preferably nobody owns the smart contract. And that's really like the core of the issue here, that as long as there's somebody that, either owns the core network or owns the rights to deploy or remove a smart contract, a piece of software which runs on an open network, then ownership is a very difficult thing to define. So, excuse me, if you have a network which is fully decentralized, for example, Bitcoin or Ethereum, we can consider fully decentralized, and the ability of people to deploy a contract and it becomes unchangeable, generally that's called immutable, then the ownership there, I think, is much more clear because nobody owns it and only you can access it, which means that it's yours. But if it's on a much more closed network, and there's a spectrum here, like very much a spectrum, then whether or not you own it becomes a tricky legal question, I think.
It's a very vague answer for someone observing. So it's
And I
neither here nor
realize that,
there.
and I think that that's part of why it's hard for people to understand what's going on in the blockchain space. Because like I could give a very specific answer that says, yes, of course, you own your Bitcoin or you own your Ethereum or you own that NFT, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And for the most part, the answer would be correct. But I think that it's really important, especially if we're trying to onboard people that are coming into the space that don't really understand what's going on. They don't really understand how the technology works, that we talk about some of the gotchas, we talk about some of the pitfalls, some of the complexity that's there, and we inform and allow people to make the decisions based on the information that we present, which is the truth, which is the honest answer, and not, skip over some of the stuff which makes it maybe a little bit easier to understand, maybe a little bit more not transparent, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want to be truthful, right? So they can make their
Right.
own decisions.
Right.
And it's not a
It's
general.
about it. Like really, when we talk about decentralization, we're talking about empowerment. And the core of empowering people is the information that we provide them.
Brilliant. So you mentioned earlier about the resistance from gamers relating to NFTs. What are NFTs?
So there's two types of tokens. A token is basically a unit of measurement of value, right? So you have Bitcoin, which is a token. You have Ethereum, which is a token. These are base tokens of those networks. And there's something which is called a non-fungible token. So basically, a token is something just like a dollar or a euro, where each unit is exchangeable. Whether you have $1 or you have another dollar or €1 or another euro, doesn't matter. They're all the same, right? A store is going to accept one or the other. A non-fungible token is a representation of value of something which is not exchangeable for something equivalent. So if you have one house, you have another house, they can be represented by NFTs, but they're not exchangeable because one house is not another house.
So they're literally single identifiers. They're
right.
unique in their own right. You cannot have
right.
more than one of.
Right.
Okay. And so how do they then relate to the gaming space?
So NFTs are a really interesting technology because what they are is an evolving thing. So when NFTs were invented, they were JPEGs. They were a representation of an image online, a piece of art that somebody owned, generally an avatar profile picture, or PFP as it's commonly known. And that was about it. But today, I guess 5 or 6 years into the evolution of the technology, I think everybody generally understands that what an NFT is a representation of ownership of a thing. So it could be an image, it could be a 3D model, it could be a ticket to an experience, it could be a piece of music, it could be a piece of art, it could be a movie, it could be an in-game item, it could be, as in Ultra, the company that I work for, it could be a game license, it could be DLC, access to DLC, it could be access to a community, it could be access to voting rights. I mean, like what an NFT is basically a bundle of functionality that gives you access, specific access to something.
Wow. So obviously, yeah, incredible. So I see why there'd be resistance, because often they can cost a bit of money, can't they? That then you're paying for the right, say, for that, whether it's a sword or a car or whatever in the game, that then essentially is a barrier. But also in reverse, once you have it, it provides you value, and then it's tradable. Is that true? That it can be tradable with others. You can upscale it. Can you add value to it as well to make it even more valuable?
Sure. So one of the most interesting aspects within like the gaming space is that user accounts can be NFTs. And a user account over time, like you play with a player, you get new stuff, you level up, it gains value. And then if you decide, I don't feel like playing this game anymore, you can put that account up on the open market and sell it. And it absolutely gained real value.
And so the biggest platform for that is OpenSea for NFTs.
Sure, OpenSea. But I think that it's important to underscore that OpenSea is kind of a front end interface for really, really decentralized technology, where those NFT contracts, the standards that that OpenSea gives you access to, they also run on many, many other different platforms, and they access the same underlying technology, the same underlying open networks.
Yeah, and who like anyone can create their own NFT with its own value proposition slash contract? Is that how it works?
Sure. So if you connect to an open network and you pay for the resources on Ethereum, you pay in gas. On EOS, for example, you have to pay for other specific resources like RAM. And you upload the contract and you make the definitions, like you add the metadata, like which is images or text or whatever else is associated with that contract, and then you publish it. And then you say, hey guys, this is what we're doing, this is what you can get if you access it. Have at it. You don't need anybody's permission. You don't need to like go to some company and say, hey, can I do this? You just go and do it, and that's freedom.
Yeah, so if they value it and they want to pay for it, they can access it, and it doesn't have to be just one, does it? You can have a series that are slightly different that are purchasable as well. Not so it's
Right.
not just
And there's a lot of interesting variation there also, because you can have a series, you can have a collection, you can have a lot of variety of rarity within each of those different traits that people generally have. Um, that is generally applicable to the images and the profile pictures. But if we're talking about gaming items, then we can have a special sword in a game, which there's 500 pretty available ones, 300 kind of rare ones, and then a bunch of legendary and epic ones. And who gets what is randomly assigned by the blockchain. Totally fair. I think that's a cool way to play a game.
wow. Such a new concept, isn't it? So when you look at the evolution of Web 2 to Web 3, obviously the gaming, like the look and feel of Web3 gaming is going to be so much different, isn't it?
Well, hopefully for users, it won't be. So I think that that's actually one of the main problems with Web3 gaming today, that it's substantially different. Like you have to go and learn all of these hard concepts and get a wallet and fill it with Ethereum or Solana or Polygon or whatever you're going to be playing on. And then you have to connect to the game, and then you have to like go buy an NFT, and then like it's too much, right? It's all too
Yeah.
much. But preferably what you would want is somebody downloads a game, they sign up just like they traditionally would, and they go play. And if they get a sword in the game and or have an account in the game, and then afterwards they want to go do something with it, they have added functionality that exists outside the game that's available to them. That's the dream.
And what would an example of that be? Being part of a community at a different level with different
Sure,
rewards?
sure. It could be at a community level. It could be at like a marketing level where like, you're playing the game and like on Twitter, you see that the people that are running the game, they're giving away NFTs. They could be like free swords or free gold in the game, or like, additions to your character in some other way. And you participate through that marketing event, you get the NFT, it just shows up in your account. I mean, like that kind of stuff, really hard to do in a decentralized way in Web2 gaming, super easy to do through Web3 gaming.
Mm-hmm. And what's this play to earn gaming? Are you telling me I can play games and earn money now?
Yeah, I'm gonna be not nice about play to earn gaming. I think that it's about value extraction at the end of the day, where you have some people that are interested in making not really fun games where you have to play a lot. You get paid a little bit of cryptocurrency or NFTs or other stuff that has value but not much value. And at the end of the day, the people that actually win are the ones that are running the business. So there's a new type of that concept, which is called play and earn, where the focus is very much on just playing. You just play, and by, while you're playing, maybe you'll get an NFT, maybe you'll get some cryptocurrency, but it's not the core focus of the game.
Yeah, and I've heard about, is it play to own as well?
Also, there's a bunch of variation there.
Yeah. And I guess, so what I see, and I, like for a third world country, for people in a third world country, playing games to earn, call it tokens or rewards that are then transferable for money, I see that obviously as making a difference in some way. But how do you see blockchain gaming making a difference overall in the long term?
Overall, in the long term, I think it's going to be about secondary functionality. So, what you're talking about, where I think Axie was particularly popular in Indonesia, if I remember correctly, because on the whole, if you play 10, 12 hours a day, you can make like $5, $10 an hour, which there was, like a really reasonable minimum wage. Now, what these people are actually doing is trading their time in a market where internationally time is not equally valued. So you'll have people that are playing, they sell it on the open market, and then people that don't want to invest 10, 12 hours a day to play the game, they buy it, and they're trading their money for other people's time. And frankly, I think it's exploitive. I don't think that it's okay. Now, when we're talking about what I would like to see from like a vision perspective about the future of blockchain gaming, I would very much like to see the open networks used in the way that they're supposed to be, where you have access to functionality, where that means that you'll have NFTs with extra functionality bolted onto the standard, which allows people to do all kinds of stuff. And like, that means that you'll be able to build secondary play experiences, which kind of like fit into the same technological foundation. So I know that that's a little vague, but like, I don't want to like kind of lock myself into a specific example here too much. But for example, you could have a game where you play on your computer, and you have access to a certain amount of functionality at the NFT standard level. And then when you log in through your mobile phone, because the play experience is expected to be different, you're actually using different technology. Now, because all of that technological stuff is open to anyone to use, it doesn't necessarily have to be the same business which creates either the one that's on your desktop or the one that's on your mobile, because from a technological functional level, it's available for anybody to use because it's an open standard on an open network.
Interesting. So I guess overall, Rami, it's an evolving process. It's early days. For the purest creators and developers out there, they do want to make a difference in the space. They've got the ability to do that with the transparency of the blockchain and everything that provides. Why do we need it right now in society as opposed to Web2 gaming?
not to be too political about this, but I think that a lot of power has been migrated away from individuals. At the large scale national governmental level, I'm not going to comment on that, but at the small scale corporate level, what you can do with the games that you own or don't own is very limited today. So, when I was growing up many years ago, you would go to a game store and you would buy a physical copy of the game and you would play it. And like what you did with it afterwards, that was up to yours because you bought it, you owned it, right? And you could give it to your friends. You could like let somebody play with it for a while. You could resell it afterwards. It was up to you. And that seems very fair and equitable. It's not true today. So if you buy a game on Steam, for example, it is permanently locked into your account. You do not have any options there. It is value that is locked away from you forever. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't like that very much. I don't like the way that that makes me play as a player, as a gamer. And I don't like having value locked away from me. And I think that when we talk about like blockchain and Web3 gaming, really what it boils down to is about enabling people to have access to that value at a very fundamental level in a free way.
Sounds good to me. Rami, so much clarity, and so you deliver it so simply. It's fantastic. And so for all the gamers out there, we're going to put together another video that's going to essentially answer all of hopefully their most frequently asked questions. We've done some research and identified some key questions. So are you happy, mate, if we jump into the next video? For the viewer's sake, we'll put it up here as a link, and we'll answer some of those questions so we can elaborate on this topic even further.
Happy to talk about it all day.
Awesome. Well, let's see you. We'll see you over in the next video.
Well, there it is, guys. I hope you enjoyed this Web3 TV episode. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below. And remember, if you'd like to watch every episode of Web3 TV, visit the link below or subscribe to our channel. And remember to hit the bell icon so that we can notify you every time a new episode is released. I'm Andrew McComb, and I look forward to sharing more inspiring Web3 TV episodes, making a difference to the world. I'll see you soon.